Hey guys, and welcome to today's video where we are going to be talking about Liza Koshy, her career path, why she no longer regularly uploads to YouTube, and what she's doing now, despite the fact that she was the fastest creator ever to reach 10 million subscribers, has nearly 25 million subscribers combined across two of her channels, and has over 1 billion views. Why she decided to give that up in order to pursue other interests. So before we start, make sure you are subscribed down below with notifications on if you have not already, and don't forget to leave a like on this video if you do go on to enjoy it. I will also leave a playlist with all of my other Where Are They Now videos linked in the description so you can watch any of those either before or after this one. So firstly, let's talk about Liza's early career. So Liza grew up in Houston, Texas, and she started making Vines in 2013 when she was aged 17. So she quickly became popular on the app for her 6-second skits, and she started to gain a following, although her family were slightly concerned about this kind of online career that she was creating, with Liza stating that once her dad made her block all of her followers so that they couldn't follow her anymore. But when she started going on a college tour, she was viewing colleges, her parents realised how excited people were to see her and how kind of good this thing was that she'd built online, so then they were wholeheartedly in support of her. So she ended up being really successful on Vine, and she moved to Los Angeles with a number of other Viners who were also doing that at the same time, and with the support of her family, and she eventually built her audience up to 7 million followers on Vine. So her Vines were mostly kind of relatable things. They weren't overly scripted like Lele Pons or the Paul Brothers Vines were, but they definitely weren't like groundbreaking comedy. They weren't jokes that no one had made before, but Liza's personality kind of kept it fresh and funny even though it was something that other people had been talking about. So most people seem to like her Vines because of her personality. She had characters that would appear in her Vines, but they were all an extension of her rather than like paid actors who would come in and pretend to be a character in a Vine and you'd never see them again, like with Lele Pons, for example. She had a lot of different people featuring her Vines as different characters, but they weren't all played by her, whereas Liza played all of her own characters, and that's what people loved, was that she kind of took these characters and put her own spin on everything that she did, even if it was a joke that someone else had told. When she moved to Los Angeles, there were a lot of other Viners making the same move at the same time. They all ended up kind of meeting each other, they formed friendships, and Liza met one of the most significant people to the rest of her career during this time in 2015, which was David Dobrik. So David and Liza met and bonded over the fact that they were both too young to drink. Remember, Liza was only 17 when she started making Vines, so at this point in 2015 she would have only been 19 years old, so she would not have been able to legally drink. Both David and Liza started their YouTube channels in 2015, which is way before Vine shut down, so they were kind of ahead of their peers in that respect, and their relationship was massively mutually beneficial to both parties. So Liza started to upload on YouTube every single Wednesday, but not only that, she was also featuring in most of David's vlogs, whether it be as part of the developing vlog squad or as a video that just the two of them did together. Their videos not only did well on YouTube, but clips of them often went viral on Facebook. I remember seeing loads and loads of David Dobrik and Liza Koshy collab videos appearing on my Facebook feed back in like 2016, and they shared a sense of humour that I think was widely appealing. Like, you didn't need to know who they were to find the content funny or entertaining, and that's why it thrived on a platform like Facebook, where people kind of come across a video, they'll share it if they think it's funny, and then the same will happen with other people. You're not necessarily following a page because you love the content, you know, some people do obviously, but you can be successful on Facebook without having a ton of followers. So when their clips of their videos were posted to Facebook, they always seemed to do really well and reach a massive audience. And there was also a lot obviously of people on Facebook who were from different generations, but because their humour was so simple but so funny, it appealed to a wide range of people. It wasn't just the kind of Gen Z who were using Vine, it was also the millennials and the baby boomers who were coming across these videos on Facebook. And these guys, they kind of became the it couple because they were a comedy couple. They weren't like Zoella and Alfie Days, who were kind of overly family friendly and not really known for their comedic prowess. David and Liza were both naturally entertaining people kind of coming together to make content that was very easy watching for a very large audience. And they weren't doing overly scripted skits. They weren't deliberately trying to make people laugh. Obviously they did make people laugh, but it didn't feel forced in that sense. They both just kind of had very good personalities for YouTube because they were fast and they were witty and they laughed a lot together. And their relationship was definitely a big influence on Liza's growth because her audience and David's audience from Vine especially were not necessarily the same people. So when she featured in his content, she could convince his viewers to come over to her channel because their relationship was so entertaining. And she was still very naturally entertaining in her own videos by herself, so that audience was then staying once they discovered who she was. So they continued to follow her even when she stopped appearing so much in David's videos. So Liza began to phase out of David's content from late 2017, but the two of them didn't actually announce their breakup on YouTube until June 2018 in a video which gained over 17 million views and was probably the most viewed breakup video ever. Although David, I'm pretty sure, has actually deleted the video from his channel. I couldn't find it when I searched for it, but if I have found it now and I was just, you know, not looking for it properly, then I will put it on the screen for you, but I'm pretty sure that the video is gone. Even though the two of them were not together, they seemed fairly amicable in their breakup video. Like, Liza was crying. They were obviously upset, but they weren't like angry at each other. They were still very friendly. They were still funny even. And it kind of let their viewers continue to support both of them without feeling like there was some kind of conflict of interest. There wasn't a messy breakup where one person did something horrible to the other person and then their fans would kind of feel torn between who they need to support or who they want to support. They were very amicable, they seemed to be staying friends, and the breakup didn't really cause any detriment to their channels. They got to keep the audience that they gained from each other, but move on in their careers without that relationship. So Liza had kind of 3 years of very much benefiting from David's audience because David was absolutely huge at this point. So she kind of gained that audience, and then when the relationship broke down, she didn't lose any of that audience. So one project that did outlast her relationship with David, which is a terrible segue, I know, but I'm trying my best here, was Liza's acting career. So Liza had always, as we mentioned earlier, played characters in her Vines and then later on in her videos. So moving into a career like acting, where you are playing characters all the time, it kind of seemed like a natural career progression for her, especially when compared to the likes of, for example, Tanya Burr, who moved into acting. Her videos always revolved around her as a person. She was never anything but herself, whereas Liza has had experience of kind of creating characters and then making content with those characters. No shade to Tanya, just, you know, saying it was a more natural progression for Liza than it was for her. So Liza starred in her first role in 2016 in the Hulu horror series Freakish, where she played Violet Adams, a role that she then reprised for the show's second season. And I don't know how many people actually watched the show. There doesn't seem to be any public viewing figures anywhere, but there are only 4 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and the show was allegedly cancelled in July 2018 because of low ratings, so it's possible that that viewership was not great for her first project. But that wasn't Liza's only acting role that year. She also in 2016 played Ade Walker in the horror comedy feature film Boo, I Made a Halloween, Princess Aubrey in the comedy film FML, and herself in the YouTube Originals series Jingle Balling. And it wasn't really a bad haul of roles for her first year as an aspiring actress, and although it wasn't like a big break for her, she didn't suddenly become a massive Hollywood star. Her performances in these shows and films were not particularly criticised as much as they were not particularly outstanding. So, you know, she wasn't massively talented and she just hadn't found the right opportunity yet, but she was definitely not awful. You know, she was not mentioned in the reviews as like Liza is wooden or she's the worst part of the show, etc. She kind of fit in as an actress. It was just the shows and the films themselves that didn't do that well. So the producers at YouTube were obviously impressed by her performance in Jingle Balling though, as they gave her in 2018 a YouTube premium series of her own titled Liza On Demand, which ran for one season in 2018, one in 2019, and then a third season in 2021. So her fans were seemingly excited for her. The pilot of the first season drew in 55 million views, although that number dropped to only 2.9 million returning viewers by episode 6. And the views fluctuated quite a lot throughout the first and second season, but they remained consistently above 2 million per episode. But when it then came to the third season in 2021, a number of the episodes failed to surpass 1 million views, with one of them not even reaching 500k at the time that I'm filming this. But this pattern does, however, seem consistent with the views on her videos that are not episodes of the show, where she used to consistently get above 5 million per video, but her most recent video has only gotten 300k in the last 4 months. But I'm guessing that that's mostly down to her inconsistent posting. She's not really been consistent on her main channel since the end of season 1 of Liza On Demand, where she came back from a break, posted consistently for a while, and then kind of disappeared. She's not been consistent on YouTube for like 2.5 years now, so I'm guessing that's why her viewership on her series has dropped, because the people who were subscribed to her channel for her content, not for the series, they're not interested in watching Liza On Demand, and so they're not seeing any benefit from still being subscribed to her when they're not getting the content they subscribed for. So instead of watching the show myself, because I'm lazy, I watched other people review the show, and from what I can see, the response from YouTube viewers was not fantastic. The show didn't apparently seem to follow much of a story apart from the overarching theme that Liza is a tasker. She has an app on her phone, she accepts tasks, she gets paid for them, and her goal throughout the 3 series is that she wants to become an elite tasker. But apart from that, each episode doesn't really build on the previous episode, so if you don't like the format of one episode, the storyline is not gonna entice you to keep coming back. And I assume that YouTube thought this format would suit Liza best because she's used to doing one-off videos rather than themed series. But I think because they tried to make it into a kind of TV series type thing that's just on YouTube rather than TV, writing the whole thing around a format that they thought would best suit Liza was not the best choice, because once Liza's fans stopped being kind of interested in her channel, their viewership absolutely plummeted because the show itself can't stand alone as something that would convince people to keep coming back to her channel. So they created a gay character based off of entirely stereotypes, and they made an episode where Liza, an adult, went back to high school and showed signs of being attracted to a teenager. And in pretty much every episode, they ripped passages from a social justice textbook and made them into dialogue to try and give the show more depth. So a lot of it kind of felt like either it wasn't well researched, it wasn't seamlessly integrated into the show, and it just felt a little bit forced. So overall, the show, it wasn't the best, and that's why it's been on a decline since its first episode, particularly in the last series where Liza's hardcore fans even seem to be losing interest, likely because this is not the kind of content that they subscribed for. And as we've said before, Liza was always naturally funny without a script, so when this whole show became a kind of scripted alternative reality using her personality as the basis for the writing, it was always going to end up being a little bit weird, because the character named after her was just like her but without her kind of fast wit, because she wasn't making things up off the cuff, she was saying scripted lines, which is not something that she'd really done in her videos that much before. So during the course of filming the first season, Liza made a video which I would say was very much a turning point in her career, and that was a parody of the 73 questions videos that Vogue does with celebrity guests. So Vogue's 73 questions videos get around 2 to 5 million views per video, and Liza's version got 31 million, which resulted in Vogue inviting her to do the first ever internet celebrity 73 questions on their channel. So Liza managed to do what the Colin and Samir channel have described as social hacking, where she used someone else's format to tap into that someone else's audience and also get that someone else's attention with, in this case, the someone else being Vogue, and she managed to do that extremely successfully, with her then being invited to appear on their channel. The video that she made with Vogue got 18 million views, which was far more than the other 73 questions with celebrities, and in it Liza alludes to the fact that she might be going to the Met Gala that year, which is obviously one of the biggest and most exclusive celebrity events of the year. People love spending kind of thousands and thousands making sure they get the best outfit because they know that this is the Met Gala. It's like this huge thing. So combining this kind of invitation to appear on Vogue's channel with this hint that she was going to be at the Met Gala, these were the first signs that Liza was kind of transcending YouTube. She was becoming more of a mainstream celebrity. So Liza did actually attend the Met Gala in 2018 along with two other YouTubers, Emma Chamberlain and James Charles, but Liza was playing host, so she was on the red carpet interviewing celebrities on behalf of Vogue. So her social hacking was really quite successful because it took her from making a parody of Vogue to being Vogue's representative and interviewer at one of the biggest celebrity events of the year. Like, she even did such a good job that they invited her to come back and do it again in 2019. So following her Vogue video, Liza started to be given more opportunities to do things outside of YouTube. So for example, she was given a hosting spot on MTV's TRL and at the Golden Globes in 2017. She also interviewed Barack Obama, and she was starting to become known outside of her YouTube fanbase as a presenter and an interviewer, and she was beginning to kind of be recognized for her talents outside of creating content. So she was also at this point mainly just a one-woman team. She had only just acquired a manager, and she was still dealing with the entire process of content creation herself, so she had a lot of plates to be spinning at the same time. It seemed like everything that she had on her plate kind of got too much from the end of 2017 into 2018, and in the breakup video with David, she did announce that she was going to be taking a break from her channel for a while, and it was during that break that the first series of Liza On Demand premiered on her channel, but this was the only content that her fans got during that time. It was a notable shift between her making content that revolved around her sharing aspects of her own personal life with the audience to instead the content being this show where she's playing a character who's like her, but sharing the character's life online does not impede upon Liza's privacy in any way. So there was also the fact that she went from being a one-woman team to having an entire team to do everything from writing to set design to filming to editing, and all she kind of had to do was sit in the writer's room and make suggestions and then turn up on set each day. And she talked in an interview with Ashley Graham about how this was kind of the point of no return, because she was spoiled with having all of these people working for her. They were all working on the same project, that she couldn't then go back to being just one person juggling everything when making content for her YouTube channel. And her channel started to become more disconnected from her and her life and more about this kind of product that she was making on the show. And we've seen other creators do this. So for example, Mr. Beast started out just making random videos in his bedroom, like counting to 100,000 or saying Logan Paul 10,000 times. And now he's built this team around him, and his videos are more like products of a media company than something that's inherently connected to him in some way. Like, he's not the only person involved in making those videos, so whilst he's the presenter and the face of the channel, he's not integral to the video's success. So even in the content that Liza's created since doing the show, you can see that there are more people who are working on it. So there's someone holding the camera, there's probably someone doing the editing, and she's progressed her career now, so she doesn't want to be the person doing everything for one channel. She doesn't want to have all the responsibility for a channel's content fall to her. So instead she's taking on opportunities where she's the face of something, but she's not the only person there, like all the hosting and presenting gigs. However, things have not necessarily been smooth sailing in all of these opportunities. In all instances where a YouTuber starts doing things outside of YouTube, there's always hordes of people ready to criticize that person, whether they're calling them irrelevant or saying that they have no talent and they shouldn't be there. And we've seen it with Liza's hosting gigs, we saw it with James Charles at the Met Gala, and we saw it when Emma Chamberlain attended Paris Fashion Week. All of those people were criticised on the basis that the audience did not feel like they should have been there because they were YouTubers. And I think in a way it kind of comes from a snobbery about YouTube. I don't know if that's the right word, but people still don't recognize YouTube as a real job. It's seen as like an easy way to make money by doing very little that doesn't require any talent. So when YouTubers start being treated like celebrities by companies and organizations, the public are not necessarily that receptive to it. And I think this to an extent is because unless people watch and engage with YouTubers, you don't understand the amount of work that goes into the content. So for example, I can only speak from like my experience, but my videos, they take maybe like 5 to 8 hours to research and script to spend, depending on the length. They're then 1 to 2 hours to film, and then an hour of editing per 10 minutes of content. So, you know, for example, the Trisha Paytas series, that probably took me like 25 hours to script because there was so much research to do, 5 or 6 hours to film, and then maybe 15 to 20 hours to edit. So that's like 60 hours of work for 3 videos, which is quite a lot when you're not doing YouTube as a full-time job. But compared to a 9-to-5 job, people might see that as something easy, especially when the money that can be made from YouTube is quite a lot more than what you can make from a 9-to-5 job if you manage to get an audience like Liza's. But there is a lot of effort, a lot of motivation, a lot of editing skill, thumbnail designing skill that goes into making a career on YouTube that people don't necessarily see or recognize. So they kind of see the finished product that you look at and go, oh well, that's easy, anyone could read off a script for an hour, or anyone can, you know, sit in their bedroom and talk about something, or anyone can vlog a day in their life. You don't see kind of everything else behind the scenes that those big YouTubers are doing that makes their job hard and makes it a full-time job. And this has meant that Liza, despite being well known and well liked on YouTube, has not been met with that much positivity, or at least not 100% positivity when she's appeared outside of YouTube in other ventures. But realistically, like, that doesn't matter because the companies are hiring her on a recurring basis because she's doing a good job of hosting. They're bringing her back for more, and eventually people are going to get used to it. But I think the fact that kind of she's taken this long break from YouTube and her fan base is starting to lose interest in the content on her channel and unfollow her means that she's not got like hundreds of thousands of people coming to support her in her out of YouTube ventures, so it is a little bit more of a difficult move. But it's a similar situation to what we've seen happen with Logan Paul. He's kind of transformed himself from being this universally disliked vlogger to appearing in widely broadcast boxing and wrestling matches, and instead of appearing regularly in vlogs, he does a podcast with other people, and he's still taking on new projects outside of YouTube whilst doing that podcast. He's not kind of consumed entirely by his YouTube channel. He's trying to branch out into other things, and you know, at the start people were like, Logan Paul in a wrestling match? No, thank you. But as he's started to do more and more, people have started to get more used to it. And people initially questioned whether things like WrestleMania should be inviting him to appear, but eventually everyone's kind of gotten used to the idea that he does fight outside of YouTube and he's more than just his vlog channel. And I think for Liza to do that, she needs to keep consistency with her YouTube audience in some format, whether it be regular videos or something else like a podcast, or that she is just consistently detached from her YouTube channel. She's not posting anymore. She's not trying to be a YouTuber. She's trying to be, you know, kind of an interviewer and presenter, because right now her audience is losing interest in her because they don't know if they're ever going to get that content back from her. She's obviously good at acting, hosting, presenting, but because she's not consistent on her channel anymore, a lot of the negative comments on those gigs is that she's irrelevant, which the company doesn't care about because she's doing a good job. But it's kind of muddying the waters a bit, where the content she appears on is not necessarily made for her fan base, and they don't know whether she's going to be coming back to posting regularly for them, or whether she's decided in her head that she's no longer a YouTuber by trade. So they don't know whether to continue to support her or not, because she's not making things that are necessarily appealing to them, but they don't know if she ever will come back to doing that. So I don't think personally we'll see her come back to posting consistently, because it kind of seems like she's closed that chapter and she's moving on to the next one. Because remember, like, she's only 26, even though it feels like she's been on social media for a really long time. She's been a prominent figure since kind of the popularization of social media. But she still has a lot of time to explore other options, particularly with the number and variety of out of YouTube opportunities being presented to her right now, and she could still make a huge career as an actress. 26 is not an expiry date, you know, she can go ahead and get a massive role in the next few years and become a Hollywood star, we don't know. Or she could become one of the most in-demand presenters in the world. You don't know what might happen, and she's still got a lot of time ahead of her to work on those careers if that's what she wants to do. I think the most likely path that she'll take is to focus on her acting. She recently played a voice role in a Netflix film, and she's in the process of making another film at the moment. So it really kind of seems like her passion is not her YouTube channel anymore, but her acting career. So it makes sense that she would choose kind of one of those spinning plates that she wants to keep up and put everything into that, put all the other ones down and try and make that one the best that it can be. So I think right now she is making the best choice to try and kind of further her acting career without also trying to keep her YouTube audience happy, because if her heart isn't in it, the content just isn't going to be as good as it was when her heart was in it. And I don't doubt that she'll probably make a video every now and then just to kind of, you know, show what she's doing, but I think she has very much transcended YouTube at this point, and it would be pretty hard for her to come back to it after gradually kind of reducing the amount of content she was making over a number of years, which would make the jump into consistency a bit of a cold water to shock. And I don't think that any content that she would make would be like her old content anymore, because she doesn't want to base her career on sharing personal details of her life anymore. So you won't see her doing like days in the life or talking about her friends or her relationship. So even if she does come back every now and then, it won't be like she's the old Liza coming back. She's going to be making a new kind of content that is different to what she was making back in her early days of YouTube. But for now, that is everything that I have to say about Liza Koshy and where she is now. I hope you have all enjoyed. If you have, then remember to leave a like, leave a comment with any thoughts that you might have, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I will also, like I said, leave a playlist in the description with all of my other Where Are They Now videos, so you can go and watch that if you are looking for something else to watch. But apart from that, I will hopefully see you all in my next one. Bye guys!